Sweeping new oil and gas regulations are unveiled. Well, almost. First, the governor wants to tell us why they're necessary. And we hear from one Coloradan who has an undeniable right to be heard on this issue. The birds and the bees and the bad information. More misleading claims about that sex ed bill. The truth about the not-so-real plans to build a bicycle community outside Boulder. And if you have to put a photo of your every meal on social media, at least learn how to do it well. A professional lesson. Next. Colorado's oil and gas industry spent tens of millions of dollars to fight off fracking regulations on last November's ballot, only to have Governor Polis and his Democratic allies in the state legislature bring industry reform back out to the forefront today.
It's time for us to take meaningful action to address the conflicts between oil and gas drilling operators and the neighborhoods that they impact.
That was Polis's promise on this issue, as heard in his State of the State address. Now today.
In this area, I said I would put health and safety first and support local control. I feel that this bill is consistent with those principles.
Democrats are controlling the news cycle today by launching their public lobbying for this bill before any of us or you actually see the precise wording of the bill. The bill is expected to make some significant changes to how oil and gas operates in our state. Democrats would like to make one particular woman the face of this effort. You know her family's story already. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
My name is Erin Martinez, and I am a survivor of the Firestone home explosion.
With her voice cracking ever so slightly, we officially met Erin Martinez. Her name is well known for the wrong reasons. Almost 2 years ago, she survived a home explosion in Firestone caused by an abandoned and severed gas line, an explosion that killed her husband and brother. Today, she stood in front of cameras as Democratic lawmakers and the governor announced new legislation to regulate oil and gas, having state regulators make decisions with a focus on the public's health and safety and increasing public disclosure of underground pipelines and flow lines.
If you want to move into a house that's close to oil and gas operations, you should be able to see whether or not pipelines are close to the house or close to your kid's school. And right now, that information is very hard to get, if not impossible.
And apparently, still inaccurate.
I found a new home and was assured that the only well was a plugged and abandoned well far away from our new house.
You can guess where her story is going.
They finally located the well in my neighbor's backyard along the fence line that we share. As a result of this incident, we are in the process of moving again, and I am trying to get my son to trust this time it will be okay.
The state relies on oil and gas operators to report where their wells and lines are located. State regulators don't go out and verify the accuracy, and this bill doesn't appear to change that.
I don't know if it's possible to go back and remap everything. I know going forward, everything is going to be much better run.
State regulators control permission for what's below ground. This bill essentially would give full control above ground to local governments, meaning city councils or county commissioners could create stricter regulations for, let's say, a setback, Kyle, if the local area wants farther away from a homeschooler business.
When we talk about going out and actually figuring out where these dangers may lie, what kind of army of inspectors would the state need for that?
So this is a separate bill from what we're talking about. This governor said as part of his budget, he wants to throw money at adding a couple more inspectors. It wouldn't solve the issue of we know where this is underground, but at least it would give more inspectors out there to follow along with the industry as they report. Here's where our
still relying on the industry, but more eyes checking. Got it. All right, Marshall, thank you. So the head of the Colorado Petroleum Council was not able to join us here today for Next. Our invitation to her still stands. That industry group released a statement saying it's disappointed with today's announcement and discouraged that it was not in negotiations in order to contribute ideas and expertise to this bill. The head of the council says that is a first for her, getting shut out in 15 years of working on energy issues. More sexual tension at the Colorado legislature today. Another contentious hearing about the sex ed bill. The last hearing featured a parade of people offering misinformation about what this bill does and does not do. So gather round, students of all ages, for some ed about sex ed. Opponents falsely claim that this bill creates a new mandate to teach about LGBTQ relationships. The language of the bill is identical to existing law. It's been on the books since 2013. Look, word for word. The part about teaching methods of birth control other than abstinence, that is also practically the same. Schools just can't go abstinence only now. You'll hear concerns that parents can't opt their kids out, and that's misleading. Current law allows an opt-out. The new bill allows an opt-out for human sexuality curriculum. It does not require written notice, though, to parents about lessons on gender, sexual orientation, or relationships. And then there's the part that is truly new, a section on teaching consent. Affirmative, unambiguous, voluntary, continuous, knowing agreement between all participants. Republican Perry Buck of Weld County said her citizens don't want to be told what consent is. Consent is clearly laid out in state law. Whether or not students will be taught about it, that's what's up for debate. Critics have also said that Planned Parenthood, which endorsed this bill, is going to benefit if more teenagers are sexually active. And we've heard from Next viewers who believe that Planned Parenthood is actually writing the curriculum that's used by schools. The organization has endorsed this bill. The vice president of the local Planned Parenthood says they are not involved in writing curriculum, though districts can choose to have Planned Parenthood representatives come in to teach whichever curriculum the school district selects. Metro State set out 11 years ago to better reflect the faces that make up Colorado by increasing the enrollment of our state's fastest growing ethnic group, Latinos. Our Byron Reed checked in and found Latino student enrollment at Metro up 25%. And lots of people are noticing this success.
I agree. Just elaborating on what he said.
Taking on a role to create reform.
So pathways to citizenship for sure.
Is part of learning for David Bonilla.
My grandma, actually, she's 67, and she's still struggling to get considered for citizenship.
Bonilla is a first-generation student at Metro State University of Denver and is taking a Chicano Studies class to learn more about his culture.
From Nebraska. So coming to such a Latino-centered city, it was just kind of like a little eye-opener.
So that's the good question.
It's a new discovery that MSU Denver said was a problem not that long ago, when their total Latino enrollment was about 3,000 students.
There was a group that was charged with identifying the enrollment trends of the institution and really looking at the population of Colorado, and they realized that at that time we had a low Hispanic enrollment rate.
Now the Latino enrollment is 6,000, which is about 25% of their total student population. The move has earned MSU Denver federal designation of a Hispanic Serving Institute, or HSI, and gives them access to about $40 million in grant opportunities.
It says that we're here to educate the students of Colorado. We're also here and, seeking out specific opportunities to better retain and also support students to degree completion.
It's kind of unclear.
So students like Bonilla can play a bigger part in learning about his culture and trying to make a difference.
It's definitely refreshing to see a bunch of young Latinos and Hispanics trying to better the standard that, the modern day American lifestyle has on them.
For Next, I'm Byron Reed.
That designation was made by the U.S. Department of Education. Metro says its current enrollment of Latino students is higher than any other college or university in Colorado. The signs tell us that RTD is about to keep a long overdue promise. Denver Public Works unveiled signs marking the new quiet zones along the A line today. Those train horns have been a honking nuisance for neighbors, but they have been a literal lifesaver at crossings until the point that federal regulators felt comfortable allowing trains to go silent. Now, train operators can still choose to blow their horns at various crossings for safety. And we should tell you that the new quiet zones are Denver only on the A line. 2 A line crossings in Aurora still need federal approval. The city of Denver is slowly digging out of the crater that it made of its affordable housing program. Confusion and lax oversight allowed hundreds of homes that were supposed to be set aside for low-income families to be sold to people who did not qualify. The Office of Economic Development updated City Council last night, said that of the 355 homes that were out of compliance, 170 of them have been resolved. 39 of those homes had to be resold to people who qualify under the income limits. A car-free, bicycle-first city near Boulder. Does not sound too far-fetched for Boulder County, right? So when Forbes featured that hypothetical city in an article recently, it's easy to understand why the internet thought this was a real plan. Not so fast. A blogger who goes by the name Mr. Money Mustache was the first to write about this idea, and then a property development company out of Amsterdam named B4 Place jumped on board with the idea. The Americans who run it took a step further. They created renderings about what a car-free city stuck between Longmont and Boulder would look like, and then all of a sudden people think, oh yeah, this is happening. No. One of the co-founders says these plans are all talk, but that's what they want. They want people talking.
We haven't tried to talk with any planning officials, but we've been really excited to see all of the positive feedback, and we'd be happy to talk to anyone who wants to continue to explore our style of ultra-compact urbanism.
To read more on how this hypothetical car-free city would work, check out the link on the next Facebook page. A familiar face from Colorado heads for Venezuela to cover the dangerous situation there.
I mean, they don't care who is journalist, who is protester. Everybody's the same for them.
And he shares his perspective with Next. An old piece of a well-known restaurant finds a new home, though the neighbors might not like it much. And if you really have to post a photo of every meal you eat, and you don't, at least do it the right way. That's next. Venezuela is a dangerous mess right now. Violence, kidnappings, crowds getting tear gassed, journalists being retained. Even the world-famous Univision anchor Jorge Ramos was recently detained and released. Another journalist reporting along the border is a name and face you might recognize. Carlos Rosselló anchored for our partners Telemundo Denver. And our Sonia Gutierrez spoke to Carlos about what he saw there.
We saw a lot of people getting hurt, and they were shooting at the people, shooting like tear gas, shooting actually bullets.
For 5 days, Carlos Rosselló was in Colombia at the border with Venezuela, documenting how politicians, artists, and organizations tried to deliver resources to the people of Venezuela with little success, all while risking his own life.
Even though we work with a bodyguard, I felt threatened sometimes because, you know, they were shooting. There were tear gases, a lot of people running at sometimes. So, yes, it was really tough.
The situation is so bad, people are eating out of garbage trucks. Carlos interviewed a man who was hit in the face with a rock. He saw another man choking on tear gas.
It was like a war zone.
He says kids were dying because of the lack of care in hospitals.
It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, everybody's going through the same situation. There is no food in the supermarket. The hospitals are in real crisis.
Every day, journalists like Carlos are telling these stories, no matter the danger.
I felt it was my responsibility to let the people or the world know what is happening in Venezuela and why are they fighting for in order to get the humanitarian aid.
For Next, I'm Sonia Gutierrez.
You know, for us as a journalist, that's our mission.
Good to see him back home safe. Carlos returned from Venezuela on Sunday.
We begin the month of March tomorrow, our snowiest month on average, with about 11 inches of snow typically. And all of that cold air that's been bottled up to the north is headed in just in time for the weekend. Tonight, a mild evening after a day with highs in the mid-50s in downtown Denver, straight up 50 out at the airport. But that cold air is coming in with the first of 2 cold fronts due in tomorrow afternoon. Now, the snow's already started in the high country. We'll have a few light snow showers here in the metro area tomorrow afternoon. But it is Saturday when we go under a winter storm watch for 3 to 6 inches of snow here in Denver Saturday morning through Sunday morning. And we are anticipating that 3 to 6 inch snowfall from Highlands Ranch through Denver up to Platteville with heavier amounts above 7,000 feet. The cold will be settling in as well. Partly cloudy tonight, quiet and calm, our low at 30. Partly sunny tomorrow, high near 50 with a late day or early evening snow shower, no accumulation. 3 to 6 inches of snow Saturday into Sunday. Cold highs in the teens to round out the weekend with overnight low temperatures this weekend in the single digits.
Kathy, thank you. All right, so when White Fence Farm, that legendary chicken joint in southwest Denver, closed down, the very last thing they served were all the unique items dotting the property. Big time auction. And I just wanted to know, who's going to get the rooster from the roof? I mean, that thing is fantastic and sat there for decades. Well, now we know. The rooster went home with a guy named Dean McVicker. Shelled out $700 to win that big bird during last month's online auction.
I like to get out and get neat things, you know, that unusual things, and I thought, how cool would that be to have it in your yard? And once people get a look at it, you know, you can't hardly miss it because it's 9 foot tall. So kind of a unique piece.
The famous rooster is now parked outside Dean's house in Parker. What do you think his neighbors think about that, huh? So here's the deal. He had to get it down off the roof. So he brought in his dad and his friends, some retired firefighters, so they got their rescue skills to work and got the rooster down so they could truck it to Parker. That's fantastic. You ever sit there at dinner and think to yourself, this food is gorgeous. Let me snap a picture. Look left, look right.
Maybe when it first started, people felt a little uncomfortable, a little weird if it was a table sitting next to somebody, but in this day and age, it seems like it's the norm.
A little advice before you pick and post. Next. My wife's pet peeve at dinner is when I glance down at my phone to check Twitter. I try to be sly about it and do it like right under the table. My pet peeve is when she takes photos of her food. But then she points out how many other people do the exact same thing she's doing and put those photos on Instagram. So I lost that one, all right? Food photos are now a thing. So our photojournalist Mike Grady took his camera to meet a local Instagrammer at Blue Island Oysters to learn how to do it right.
Some of my favorite oysters that we have on the menu today.
Maybe like this table would be good. I'm like super awkward with photos, I'm sorry. My real name is Gabriella and my Instagram name is Mile High Munch. I specialize in taking photos of food and making people hungry. Pretty solely like on Instagram. 16.7K, so we're almost 17,000. Denver's food scene is just growing so much that I kind of capitalized on that and like the opportunity to kind of explore new restaurants all the time. Yeah, sometimes I like to do like action shots, like you're about to take a bite. The biggest thing is obviously natural lighting for me. I love when I can shoot in natural lighting. I like to hold up the food and have it so the background's like kind of blurry and like hold it up and take a photo that way. That was always a good one. I like the contrast between the dish in the background and like this being in the forefront. On that one. This one looks really good with the mac and cheese. I think the lighting on this one is really good.
You know, I think it's a good thing. It's encouraging people to appreciate the work that chefs put into their food.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be those people that are giving you the side eye, definitely, but, you know, just gotta do what you do. We're getting some good photos. Yeah.
Coloradans like to explore. You know, there will be the lines laid out for parking, but people are just like, no, I'm going to go my own way, going to forge my own path. That in your feedback next. By now, you should know Next has an army of parking lot spies just waiting to snap a photo when you've crossed a line. So I don't even know why people think they can get away with this stuff anymore. Ed sent us this picture from a shopping center in Aurora. I get it. It's busy, but that's not a spot. That is most decidedly not a spot. But somebody thought they were going to get away with it. I like their confidence. Email your photos to next@9news.com or tweet them to us with the hashtag HeyNext. Gerald Scharf writes in again tonight. Gerald's a frequent emailer. He did not like the food photo story. Scraping the bottom of the barrel as usual, Kyle. Yes, Gerald, and I appreciate you still watching. Haley Harmon writes in, Kyle, are you a Republican or a Democrat? Just wondering, because you look like a Republican to me. What does a Republican look like? White guy, boring haircut, white shirt, blue jacket. Oh no. See you next time.